Network file system, which is also stands for NFS. This is one of the biggest and major topics, and I am including this lesson in our module of disks because it is actually about sharing your disk or sharing your directory or sharing your files with other computers and other users. So network file system, as I have explained you previously, there are different type of file system like ext2, ext3, xfs, ntfs in Windows, or fat file system that's also in Windows. Just like that, there is another file system that is called network file system. Now this file system, again, it's not local to your computer. It's called a NAS, which is also a network attached storage. So NFS is one of the protocol is part of NAS. So let's see, NFS stands for Network File System, a file system developed by Sun Microsystem. Sun Microsystem, if you guys don't know, this was a company who actually had one of the biggest operating system called Solaris. That Solaris operating system um, runs on Unix environment and it still exists, but now Sun Microsystem is being bought out by Oracle. Anyway, our focus is not Sun or Oracle, our focus is NFS, which is one of the Linux or Unix services to share your file system between servers. Now, it is a client server system that allows users to access files across a network and treat them as if they resided in a local file directory. It's just that simple. When you mount it from one system to another, the other system will see it as if it actually mounted locally on its own system. Now, for example, if you were using a computer linked to a second computer via NFS, you could access files on the second computer as if they resided in a directory on the first computer. This is accomplished through the process of exporting. So you export from the server that is sharing the file system, the process by which an NFS server provides remote clients the access to its files. And mounting, the process by which client, which is the other computer, the other end, client map NFS shared file system. So this is how the basically NFS works, and I hope you understand. If you do not understand and you're still confused what NFS is, please don't worry, I'm here. Don't worry about it. I will take you every step of the way and I will show you how NFS works. Okay, so now let me show you real quickly through the pictures, through the diagram, because pictures speaks 1,000 words, right? So you have a machine, a computer. It's probably nowadays it could be either Linux or could be Unix or could be Windows. This machine wants to attach a file system that is being shared from another computer. So what it does is it sends an NFS request. That NFS request goes to a server that is hosting that file system. So if that file system is hosting, let's say ABC file system or whatever the name of the file system that is being hosted on this server. Then, based on the rules that are defined on the server, meaning the policies, which server to share with, which server to trust, and all that, once that is satisfied, then this server is going to send the approved request back to its client. And it's going to say, hey, I know you are asking me to share my file system with you. Now, first of all, let me see if the file system that you want me to share with you, if I am authorized to share, first of all. Second, if you are authorized to view that file system. And of course, there are other options that can be defined, which we will discuss later on. Moving on, the network file system, what are the steps that we need to do? Well, there is a server that is going to share its file system, and then there is a client which is going to mount that file system, right? So what are the steps we need to take on the server side? So in these slides, I'm actually going to show you what are the steps we need to take. Once I'm done with this slide, then actually I will log into the machine and we'll do the real work. So steps are, first on the server side now, we need to install NFS packages, and those NFS packages are NFS-utils, libnfs ID map. These are the two packages that you need on your latest Red Hat or CentOS version 7 servers. Most likely they are installed in your machine, but the way you could check it by running rpm-qa and grepping for NFS, and you will see if these packages are installed. We will check that together. So no worries. Next thing we will have to do, once these packages are installed, enable and start NFS services. So you know that enabling any service, meaning you are telling that service to start at boot time. So you want these two services to start at boot time. That's why we are using the option enable. Once we enable them, then I'm going to start the services RPC bind, NFS server, RPC stat D, and NFS ID map D. These are 4 services that I want to start. I put them all in one line, but make sure when you are running your command, they shouldn't be in one line because it will give you an error. I am trying to save some space here, that's why I'm putting everything in one line. Okay, moving on. Then create NFS shared directory and assign permissions. So once we are on the NFS servers, we're going to create a directory, or if you already have a directory that you want to share, then you don't need to do this part where you have to create and assign permissions. So in our lab, we are assuming that we are creating or we are sharing a new file system, a newer directory. So I'm going to name it my pretzels, and I'm going to assign the permissions of that to my pretzels. So my pretzel, I just picked a name. You could pick anything. I like this word pretzels because that's one of my favorite lines from Seinfeld that says, "These pretzels are making me thirsty." So I just picked that name. Anyway, then we have to modify the permissions for that my pretzels directory. Then we have to modify the etc export file. Because the reason we wanted to modify that is because if we want to have this file system to be shared, I have to have certain option in it. So as you could see, I have put in the IP address 192.168.1.12.7. It means I want my pretzel to be shared only with the server that has this IP, and it will have the read write permission. So let's look at them one by one. So here is my NFS share. That's the NFS share that I'm sharing. Then here is the IP address of the client machine from which I'm going to share my file system with. Now what if you wanted to share with everybody? Then you could just simply put star, the asterisk. Yes. Then next thing, read and write. You are giving permission to your clients to read that file system as well as write to it. Then there's another option, sync. Sync is telling that all changes to the according file system are immediately flushed to the disk. The respective write permissions, write operations are being waited for. So don't wait any longer when you're writing to this file system from a client. Just write it to the disk right away. Then the last option we have right here says root on the client machine will have the same level of access to the files on the system as a root server. So the root server, which this NFS server is coming from, will have the same permissions as the client root. So that's what it's saying. So now, of course, this is for one host because we have specified the host name or the IP address. But if you want to specify everybody, not just one computer, then you will use Linux, my Linux share. Oh, sorry, this is not my Linux share. You have to change it to my pretzels. I had it using before my Linux share, but to make it more meaningful, I change it to my pretzel. Anyway, if the my Linux share, whatever the Linux share is, asterisk, and the entire line of options. That is to give it to everybody. Then once that is done, you edited the etc export file. Then you export the NFS file system by running the command export fs space minus rv. So what are these different options? R is to republish everything that is inside of etc export, and V is to show a verbose mode. So I hopefully you understand this is the NFS configuration. On the server side, the server which is trying to share its file system. So in our example, our NFS server is our server, our lab server that we have built for this training. And remember, the host name for that lab server is my first Linux VM. Right? That's the one we created, right? So let me go to my Linux VM and let me log in real quick. Okay, and just do host name. You see my first Linux VM. This is the Linux VM that we've been working on, right? So this is going to be our NFS server where we will create our file system to be shared with other servers. Okay, so now we will export it. We will we will install the packages, enable these services, start the services, create what we need to create, what we need to share, change the permissions, then modify the etc export file to have that shared. Moving on to the next slide. Now steps for NFS client configuration. Now, of course, you have one server, which is my first Linux VM, right? That's server configuration. Now we are going to create another machine that will actually mount that file system on its mounted point, whichever that you need to define. So what we're going to do is we're going to install these packages: yum install nfs util rpc bind, same packages as NFS server. Then we're going to start, once the packages are installed, enable and start rpc bind service. You have to make sure only this service that has to be up and running, rpc bind start. Then make sure there is no firewall or IP tables running in your system, the client. Then we will do a show mount command to see what is available for for me to mount. Then create a mount point like mkdir /mount/app or /mount/ let's say Kramer, whatever that you wanted to do. You could do that. Just like that, I have it right here. So mount the file system like mount the name of the IP address of the NFS server /mypretzels, which is the shared file system, mount to Kramer or mount to app or whatever the mount point that you wanted to make. Then verify the mounted file system by running the command df-h. And to unmount that file system is umount /mount/Kramer. So that's it, folks. Enough talking now. I'm sure we probably heard a lot of things. Now let's do the real work. Let me go back to my NFS server configuration, and that's where we're going to start off with. So I am going into my Linux machine, and the Linux machine is my first Linux VM. How I am logged in, who am I, and which directory I'm in, and which host I'm on. Verified everything perfect. Now go ahead and become root. Okay, we are root. Now before you install these packages, you could run rpm command to verify if these packages already exist or not. And you see it tells you that nfs-util and libnfs-id map are already installed. Now if you try to install it with yum command, let's say yum install nfs-utils, it will go out on the repository, but it'll say right here, see, this package NFS util already installed and has the latest version. Perfect. So we've been through the first install NFS package. Okay, done. Second thing, we need to enable the RPC bind and NFS server service. So the command to do that is system ctl enable RPC bind. Perfect. You get the prompt back, it means it worked. Then you do the same thing by doing the up arrow key. Instead of RPC bind, do NFS dash server, because it's NFS dash server, right? Yes. Hit enter. Okay, created symbolic link, this. Why it didn't create it before? Maybe we have already, or I have already enabled that RPC bind previously, and that's why the link was there. But anyway, I am enabling this NFS dash server for the first time, and that's why it's saying created symbolic link, which is what it's supposed to do. Okay, anyway, so now the time to start the service system ctl start RPC bind. Okay, it started. See, it didn't give me any error message. If I wanted to check the status of that service, I'll do status system ctl status RPC bind, and you'll see it says right here active, loaded, and running. This is what we wanted to see. Perfect. Now next service I wanted to start is NFS dash server. See right here it says NFS dash server. Hit enter. They should start the service RPC dash stat D, right? Let's confirm RPC dash stat D. Yes. Hit enter. Okay, it is up and running. Perfect. And I could just do start again. It started. Now check the status. Running. Okay, perfect. Next one, NFS ID map D. It started. Now let's check the status. Active and running. Perfect. Now it's time to create our shared file system. So I'm gonna go into my cd slash directory. You see I am in slash cd slash, just slash. Now I'm gonna create a directory called make dir my pretzels. Okay, I am in slash and ls minus l, and you will see it is created right here. And I could do ls minus ltr to see it at the bottom. Now I need to assign the proper permission, so I'll do change mod a for all plus rwx my pretzels. Hit enter. See, these are all the rights. Okay, perfect. Now I already have my directory. Let me go into my pretzels directory. Okay, what's inside my pretzel directory? Nothing right now. Okay, I could create a couple of files like touch A, B, C. Alright, perfect. I could also create a file called touch Kramer, and I could echo into the file these pretzels are making me thirsty, and I'm gonna output to Kramer file. Perfect. Let's echo Kramer file, cat Kramer file, and you will see these pretzels are making me thirsty. Now this directory, my pretzels, has how many files? 4. A, B, C, and Kramer. So that's good enough for our testing. Now what we need to do, next thing, we have to edit the etc exports. So vi etc exports. Since we are doing that for the first time, you will see this file is empty. Be very careful to modify it. What I will do is I always do copy etc exports, and then etc exports underscore I put a date in like 08/08/2020. So this way, if I make a mistake, I could always copy it back to its original version. So now I could go into VI etc export, but anyway, this was empty. So now what I want to export. First of all, what I'm trying to export, I am going to export slash my pretzels. Okay, perfect. Who am I exporting it to? I wanted to export it to everyone. If you want to export it to your other Linux machine, which we will build later on, and you have the IP and you want to come back here and specify the IP, you could do it. But for now, I'm just gonna do asterisk. Now, then I have to specify asterisk parentheses rw read write comma sync comma no underscore root underscore squash. And that's it. This is what we need. So if you guys need to know the exact instruction, I will try to put it in. This entire instructions right here you see on my slide, I'll put it into the notes folder, the notes section. Okay, so now that file is edited, go ahead and save that file. Perfect. What do we need to do? The last thing, export that file system. Okay, go ahead and type the command export file system dash RV. Again, R stands for to republish everything, whatever's in there. Publish it again. I don't really care. And then V is the verbose mode. Hit enter, and now it is telling you that it is exporting the file system to everybody, and the file system is my pretzels. Okay, so you have created it. Your NFS server is ready. It is exporting to other machines. Now the question is, I do not have another Linux machine to test mounting this file system to another machine. So what I'm going to do is I am going to build another machine which is going to be client, and I will show you how to build that. The whole thing I'm gonna do by building this another Linux machine, I'm gonna do it really fast. I'm gonna fast forward it because since you guys have already have experience of creating another Linux virtual machine, so I'm gonna go do it really fast. So right now, if you could see, if I go into my Oracle VM VirtualBox, then I'm gonna go ahead and create new. I'm gonna name it Monks. Monks is a name of Seinfeld show that's a restaurant where everybody goes. So it's like a shared environment. So I'm using this as a client name. So Monks. And Windows, Microsoft Windows, I'm gonna pick Linux because you're building a Linux machine. And now pick Linux 2.63.x 4x 64-bit. Now go ahead, click next. Memory size, leave it default. Create new disk, dynamically created. Next, you already know that. The size of the disk that will be created is 8 gig. Leave it default. Create. It is created. Now Monks, the VM is created. Now go ahead and power on. This is asking you where is your ISO image. Remember, we actually downloaded our CentOS ISO image. If you do not have that ISO image right now, it's okay. You could go ahead and download again from the internet. And once you have that downloaded, come back and start again from this lesson on how you could select it. And I'm sure you know this, how to select it. So here, go ahead and pick the location. I already have the location picked, and it is this Windows CentOS 7. I'm gonna click open and start. Now this is going to start the installation. It's by default tells you this test media and install CentOS. So go ahead, hit up arrow key and click on install CentOS and hit enter. Okay, from this point on, I am going to fast forward the entire installation. Okay, so you notice I am going to pick the minimum install. What minimum install means that there is not going to be any GUI installed. I don't really need GUI at this time. I just want to test my mounting NFS file system, and that's why I'm going to leave it default. The installation destination, you could click on it and select the disk and leave everything as is, automatically configure partitioning. Go up and click done. And then come down, you'll see the network host name. It says not connected, click on it. Go up, turn this on, and now give it a host name. I picked the VM host name is Monks, so I'm going to use the same name, Monks. Click apply, and it'll say the current host name is Monks. Go up, click done. So everything is set up. America's New York time zone. You could pick a different time zone according to your region. Language, installation, source, local media, software installation minimum. As I said, we don't need a GUI and we don't need any other extra softwares. Come down, installation destination. We picked it already, which is the default. Everything is default. And now go ahead and click begin installation. Once it begins installation, click on root password. Specify the root password. If it's weak, you will have to click done twice. User creation, I don't want to create any user right now. Okay, so now you'll see it is going through the installation process of installing 303 packages, and right now it is at 15 packages, so it's going to take time. I'm going to fast forward again from here, and when we come back we should have a built up machine. Alright everyone, our machine, the second machine client, Monks, is being built. Go ahead and log in as root. So now check the IP address of this machine. Okay, it does not have the network utilities that you need to check the if config. But there is another command that we learned previously. It's IP addr. Yes. So you notice you have an IP address of 10.0.15. So if your IP address is different in the other servers, let's check our server. My IP address here is ifconfig. It is 192.168.1.18, and its IP address, the other machine's IP address, is different. The reason is we have to change the setting on the virtual box. So that's the machine. Go to setting, go to network, and you see it's right here, says attached to NAT. Change it to Bridget network adapter and Broadcom Extreme Gigabit Ethernet. If you have a Wi-Fi, you pick that one. Click OK. Now it should have a new address. If it doesn't, then run the command system ctl restart network. It has restarted. Now you check IP addr, and you will see the new IP I have right here is 192.168.1.11. So from here, make sure you do press right click to get out of this machine box. So you could go ahead and ping 192.168.1.11 just to make sure you could, oh, not 1.11. Make sure you could ping it. Yes, you see you're getting a response back. Perfect. So now let's go back to our machine. Also try to do ping www.google.com to make sure your machine can get to the internet. Yes, it can. Go ahead and clear the screen. Now we'll get back to our lesson where we have to actually go to the client. So we have to install NFS util RPC bind. Yum install NFS-util. If on one package, 15 dependency, go ahead and hit Y as yes. Hit enter. Perfect, it's finished. Now the next thing we have to do RPC bind. Yum install RPC bind, one word. And this time do -Y option. Okay, it says it's already installed. Perfect. So we don't need any of these more packages. So now what next? We have to start that RPC bind service. So do, instead of service, you have to do systemctl, because service is an older command that works with Red Hat 6 or CentOS 6. Start RPC bind. It is started. You could check by doing ps-ef grep RPC, and you'll see it is up and running. Now let's make sure the firewall or IP table is not running. ps-ef egrep firewall or IP table. So we see the only firewall D is running. So let's stop that. So system ctl stop firewall D. This is going to stop that. Also disable that service to start at boot. Okay, it is disabled. Show mount. Show mount from which machine? Show mount -E. What is the IP address of our other server, NFS server machine? So let's go to our other NFS machine and check our IP address, ifconfig or IP address, whichever the command you prefer. It's 192.168.18. So let's go back and do show mount 192.168.1.18. And this should return what is being shared from that server. Okay, it's saying unable to receive error number 113, no route to host. So let's ping first 68.1.18. I could ping it, but I cannot, it's not showing me the mount. Let's check on the server side if the server side is running IP tables. Oh, so there's a firewall on the server side that is running. We have to disable that. Okay, so now that firewall is disabled. Let's check on the client side again and see if you could view the show mount. Ah, perfect. Now we see the show mount. So now let's go to our document. We have verified it. Now we have to create a directory where we have to mount it on our client. So let's clear the screen and now create a directory. We call it mkdir. Under mnt, we'll call it Kramer. Alright, so let's do ls-l mnt. We'll see the Kramer is there. Do the mount. Mount 192.168.1.18 /my pretzels, and map it where? Map it to mount /Kramer. Okay, we got the prompt back. Perfect. It means it did mount. Hit df-h or type df-h, and you'll see right at the bottom it's coming up as MNT Mount Kramer. Now if I go to cd/MNT Kramer and do ls-ltr, you see I have the same files now that I created on my server, which is right here. And if you go to cd my pretzels ls-ltr, so these are the file systems. So now if I wanted to write something to this, let's say from the client side, I'm going to create a file called touch David. Hit enter, verified, and it created on the client side. Now let's see if it shows up on the server side, and you see it showing up on the server side. The last thing that I want to cover here is you verified it, and if you wanted to unmount that from the client, then you could just simply do umount/mnt/Kramer. You can mount the mount point, or you can mount the file system, whichever way you like. So when you hit enter, it's gonna say device is busy. Why? Because you are already inside of that directory. So you get out of that directory, do cd, hit enter. Now you are not in that directory. Now hit up arrow key and do the umount, and it has unmounted it. Do a df-h and you'll see it is not there, it is gone. So guys, that's how you do the NFS. Try it. It's a very, very important lesson, and a lot of people ask for NFS services, and I'm including this in this training because a lot of students have asked me on NFS, so that's why I decided to create that for you. Alright guys, good luck.